Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 350 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game.
Today's topic is remove resistance and multiply revenue. Question for the audience. Why does growing your business feel harder than it should? What hidden friction is slowing you down? In this episode of Knack for Business, Ryan's going to dive deep into how invisible friction in your sales, marketing, and internal operations could be silently draining your profits and slowing down your momentum. Our guest today is Ryan Chute from Wizard of Ads. He's a dynamic expert in that space. He's an award-winning creative strategist, helps small businesses become big brands at Wizard of Ads. Entrepreneurs call the Wizard when looking for divergent sales and marketing solutions that expedite profitable growth without all the friction. Ryan always had aspirations of an exceptional life, not just good. Sometimes you believe you're doing all the right things, but you have friction hiding in your blind spots. That friction is causing unnecessary resistance, slowing down profitable growth. Ryan grew up on a retail pirate ship, a disturbingly transactional world. Wheeling and dealing offers and gimmicks, his early career in retail and automotive was filled with friction, deception, and general skullduggery. We're all on a journey. Let's go together. Read Wizard Ryan Chute. This is awkward phrasing. Read Wizard Ryan Chute's story in his upcoming book, Frictionless, coming soon to a bookstore near you. Ryan, welcome, sir.
Being blessed with growing up in Halifax, Nova Scotia, there's an awful lot of pirate ships around. We've got all kinds of crazy pirate stories about people hiding treasure and all kinds of stuff up there.
So when you say friction, is that just getting rubbed the wrong way, or what do you define as friction?
Therein lies the rub. What we're talking about when we're talking about friction is all of those moments, communication moments that are just invisibly causing your business, your productivity, your efficiency, your profitability to slow down. And what I've identified is 12 major rub points in a business, all orienting around people and communication, because people are the wild card. And when we get the communication better, because it's never going to be perfect, we're going to have less friction. And that's intentional in the way we approach it. That's all I'm looking to do with this book and with the conversation. I'm in marketing. And when I have a really good culture to work with, I have a really good operation. When I have a good operation and a culture, I have a really good buying experience. And when I have a good buying experience and employee experience, I have really good marketing. And I can help my companies grow. And when they grow, they pay me more.
So you're mentioning the word flywheel.
Yeah.
And rust, which sounds like another friction point.
You think about all the weird things in a flywheel. If we just think about the mechanics of friction for a minute, even the chemistry, we go back to the laws of nature, and we can't change the laws of nature in the things that we do. So flywheel has rust on it, like a rust on a rotor of a brake. It's going to slow things down. It's going to catch things up, almost like sandpaper, just gripping it and slowing things down. We have no lubricant, right? There's nothing greasing the wheel, as it were. What if you had mismatched sizes? Like at home, I bought these ball bearings, and then inside them, there's 12 little balls on a track. What if one of those balls was too big or too small? That's going to throw everything off. What if it was damaged? What if there was parts that were misaligned in it, and it just everything slowing down? And these are all of the metaphorical pieces of your business. The ball bearings are the people, and the brakes on a car are the tension that's required, because you actually do need tension. You actually do sometimes need friction. It's not a frictionless world, but it is about taking friction out of the parts that don't need to be there. Heck, even if you put extra weight on a flywheel, it's going to slow it down. Somebody said to me the other day that if a 757 plane flew into the mountain, it would cause less damage and make a smaller hole than a train fully loaded, like a full-on locomotive going 7 miles an hour. Because of the weight difference, it has a massive difference in the inertia impact and overall outcome. And then we think about how this all fits into electricity. We know that when we have the thing passing through the copper wire, we're going to get an electrical pulse. That's necessary, right, to create a resistance. We can have resistance that's positive. We can have resistance that's negative. This is no different than the chemicals we feel in our body about positive and negative energy, the fear, shame, and guilt, the struggle, the sacrifice, the frustration, the anxiety we deal with, the cortisol that is created creates this resistance, both positive and negative. And what we're trying to do is just get our levels back to that at least minimum and hopefully a little above kind of the KPI, right? The median standard here.
Ryan, to start early in the journey, I'm guessing that the automotive you mentioned is selling cars.
Yes.
Okay. And it was a ruthless and brutal environment, and it was very much fun for yourself, and you weren't happy and you weren't having fun. Take me from, I can't do this anymore, I quit, to here's what I'm going to do better. Walk me through that entrepreneur's journey. That's what interests me.
That's exciting. For me, it's two key spots, Wayne. The first spot was in about 2006. I had moved out west. I was actually in the furniture industry at that point in time. I had done really good things in the family business. I had significant successes there and just got pretty tired of being under the family's wing and shadow. My grandfather saying that he was taking me out of his will was hurtful for a 24-year-old guy who had seen his grandpa as his patriarch his whole life, was a big deal in his mind, and was trying to live up to his aspiration of being a good entrepreneur. My grandfather passed away earlier this year, and we came to terms with that. That propelled me out west in Canada, Alberta. I spent a couple of years first working at stores, managing stores, and then taking over a store for a franchise for a period of time. And what I found was I was a tyrant. I was mimicking what I learned from my dad, and I'd mimicked what I'd learned from these other managers that I was around. And frankly, I was trying to put my own footprint on and fingerprint on things. So I was just being a goon. And it's easy for me to see that now looking back. I thought I was a big deal and an alpha male and all the other nonsense that I've come to realize is more of a lack of self-esteem. When I got fired from the last store that I was at, and he was like, "You're just not for us," and I found him soft, and I had significantly improved his business in a very short period of time, but that ruffles feathers, not realizing all of these friction points were my fault, not theirs. Operationally, I was incredibly sound. Tactically, as a manager, I could manage things. But leading, I'm embarrassed of the things that I've done, and to some degree, at times, continue to do as a full-grown adult who allows himself to fall back into survival mode. So that was my first big friction point, and it's like, man, there's got to be a better way because I am crushing this. And all I'm getting is abuse and fired for stuff that's like, when you improve, this is what you get. That doesn't seem right. So that took me on that first propulsion of journey. Then I got into the car business. We spent a couple of years out west. The 2009 comes around, everything falls apart. We get out quite well and healthy, financially speaking. Came back to Nova Scotia. My parents had broken up, and I was trying to help out my mother, and ran into some realizations about my family that I didn't see as a child and young man. And that was a brutal awakening, and who's in this, and for the good and the bad. That had me get into the car industry. I love the car industry. The very first job I had was in the business office. By accident, I just had a really nice suit on that day and a really pretty pocket square that matched my tie. And I have the ability to have some semblance of an intelligent conversation with people. So they said, "What do you want to be in the business?" I said, "What's that?" And they tell me what it is. And I'm like, "Okay, let's do that." And that's not often what happens in the car business. So there I am, learning the car business, move through it pretty quickly. A couple of years passes through, and then I'm applying for a job at a traveling marketing and sales company where we go to different retailers around first Canada, and then quickly England, South Africa. I went to obviously all of the UK countries and South Africa, went overseas to Australia, to New Zealand, up into the Pacific Rim, was doing marketing and sales. And the marketing was, we'd build out the whole marketing deck. It was all super transactional stuff. We would get in there, teach the salespeople to get on the phones and grind out a whole bunch of phone calls, get a bunch of people in, sell them a bunch of cars. And we would do a month to 2 months business in a day. So I was really good at that. And they said, "Well, take over Australia." So I take over Australia. It's a brand new market, and we get it up to 60 trainers. We rewrite the scripts. I do like the whole schmozzle, like I'm doing the thing. And then visas end, and I'm back in Canada, where they've basically just beaten this horse to death and then kept beating it for another few years. And I'm like, this is awful. Everyone hates us going in there because we actually expect something. They hated me for sure because I wasn't the new hire anymore. The new hire now was a salesperson who had done a mediocre job on the sales floor, would go in there, commiserate with the rest of the salespeople, not expect them to do anything and get no result. And I'm like, no, man, if I'm going into work, I'm going in to crush it every single time. That's my personality. And if you don't like me, don't bring me back, but you will appreciate the money that I make you every single time. It was just awful. And I was like, I have to get out. In 2015, I go to Wizard Academy in Austin, Texas. By 2017, I quit at the automotive training, marketing, and sales company. It had gotten so terrible. I'm now on my own again, starting out, full consultations, trying to figure out what am I going to do here at Wizard of Ads. He invited me to become a partner. I didn't apply or anything. I talked to him and he said, you know what, you should be a partner. He told me what that was and I became a partner. I went to a class called Magical Worlds. It's a not-for-profit school in Austin, Texas that teaches marketing and communication. And that's where I learned there's a whole world that lives above this transactional, grindy, friction-filled, abusive, almost manipulative business that I've lived my whole life in. I'm 40 years old, and I just opened a door to a universe that I knew existed. It was absolutely revolutionary for me. It wasn't just an evolution. It was a full-on comet hitting the earth and mass destruction revolution of my belief system that had me on a 10-year trajectory to figure out how to remove friction from a business, because the same problems that I was seeing in all the other industries I was in were the same problems that my clients were dealing with, but now I was seeing it through a different lens and speaking with people with different words and terms and conceptualizations that allowed me to actually put into words the thing that I've been feeling and dealing with my whole life, which was this crazy amount of friction.
Got a question for you. So you're coming up to someone and says, hey, Ryan, teach me this. Give me that wizardry. Give me that frictionless love. How do I convert from what I am to understanding what I should be? It doesn't mean what I've gotten from what you've just told us is your core essence is the same. You've just realized, hey, certain things are, it can achieve a result, but you're not going to be loved afterwards. And what you want is the customer to love you, to come back, rinse and repeat. How do you get a person that's in business then to change their perspective?
I think, Bernie, you said it right at the front there, and it's super important. If you are in the core, a person who cares, like the Fred Rogers helper, when you're looking for people to trust and feel safe, you look for the helper in a crisis. Well, if you're that person in your core and you're trying to do something with ambition, gusto, and energy, and you're pointing in that positive direction, then first and foremost, you got to do what every great 12-step program has ever taught you in the first place. And the problem isn't going to be all the external nonsense that we've pointed at for everyone else. It's us. We're the problem. We're the ones causing the friction because we're the commander in our business, and it's our intent in our commander's intent that is going to dictate how your business is going to succeed. And you can do that with brute force. I talked to a prospect the other day and I said, I will never in any circumstance for any amount of money work for you because you are absolutely committed to doing this with brute force, despite the people that are going to help you get there. I can't support your motives. At the end of the day, it's a lot of money to walk away from, but it's not money that I would sleep at night feeling good about. And knowing that I can positively impact people matters. You admit that, yes, I'm going to fail. I'm going to have flaws. I'm going to have chinks in the armor and cracks in the glass. But if we believe in the Japanese concept of kintsugi and put things back together with gold, and that there's more beauty in the broken than in the unbroken, we can embrace that as part of our perfection. Our imperfection is in our perfection. And then we can allow ourselves as grown adults who have big egos and self-esteem problems, and 90% of us who are doing anything of consequence certainly have daddy issues. At the end of the day, we've got to start working on ourselves, but more importantly, start working on the external parts of ourselves as much as the internal, to find empathy, demonstrate competence, and create a convenience for the people around us, because those are the core basis of what everyone wants, whether you're a buyer, your son, your wife, your customers, or your employees. It's all the same thing. We want less pain in our lives. We want more reward in our lives, and we're going to surround ourselves with those people that are going to pour into us and bring that energy level back up. And that's what this aims to do, is, for the most part, take stuff out, not put more stuff in. It's just about understanding the ingredients and baking a better cake.
Conceptually, I get it. I think that's wonderful. Can you make it a little more granular and walk us through a frictionless experience that you've taught to do it so that it's less hypothetical?
Oh gosh, yes. It really does go from this big, huge idea down to nuts and bolts, doesn't it? And if we take the big idea of removing friction down to how we're going to do this tactically, let's start with compensation packages. It's an easy one. So comp packages in the car business is like, you're on commission and you eat what you kill, and basically you finance our success for us. And if you don't, you're going to starve to death, and we're going to get rid of you. And you're just under this constant weaponized threat of fear, shame, and guilt, right? It's an external weaponized mechanism to have you perform or F off. Ultimately, what it comes down to is, do I want to have my people consistently living in survival mode, where we don't have full use of our prefrontal cortex because we're unable to actually do the thing that needs to be done at its greatest extent? We can't think as thoroughly unless we have a baseline of energy, a baseline of peace in our hearts. So when you think about proper compensation design, it comes in 3 buckets. Bucket number 1, keep the demons away. The demons are the mortgage that you had to pay, and the food that you got to put in your kid's belly, and the life that you've got to live at the rudimentary level, right? Let's cover the demons, right? And it's not the demons that you create yourself because you live a lavish lifestyle. It's the basic demons. We're not here to fund your flamboyance. We are here to make sure that you've got this kind of base thing sorted so that the rest of it can be performance. And that's the second piece. You get paid for the performance, not the performance of KPIs. If you're paying somebody off of a conversion ratio, just make up a number, because that's what all numbers are. They're just made up. And now they're expecting to, if I don't hit 50, you don't get paid this thing. I don't have control over the 50%. You have to give me enough leads to be able to do that. I need to have the quality of leads. You need to provide me with the inventory to sell at that level. And there has to be a demand for that particular product at that particular time, given the industry that we're in, for that to happen. So you've basically taken all of my control away and punished me off of your end. And now I'm set to deal with that, right? I'm paying for your incompetence as a business owner. Thinking of it from the sales guy's perspective, right? So no, you get rid of KPIs. You instead change it to the actions and behaviors that reach a KPI. Given that you gave me 100 opportunities, did I meet or exceed the expectation off of the actions I took to do that? For example, I'm a sales guy. I need to book 3 appointments a day to keep my roster full. If I'm ever going to have any success, I need to have 1 sale a day. That's how I measure success. I don't actually have sales quotas for any of my companies. I always have the expectation of what needs to be done in the day. We need to book 3 appointments. We need to sell 1 thing minimum. Anything else we can do maximum, right? There is no ceiling. That's the floor. So that's what my goal is. There is no sales quota, because I don't want you turning off on day 20 when everything's done, right? And vice versa. We don't want you doing despicable things to get to your number. We need to continue to scrap it out and work hard, but we're going to do that ethically and morally. We're not going to take the shortcut to make us feel good about the number we just hit. So now we've set up psychologically all of the friction points and removed all of the things that are going to create that are built in friction. The third thing I didn't mention was the thing that I never mentioned. I'm going to pay you a bonus. I'm just not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to tell you that you are getting it. This is based on Daniel Pink's research in the book Drive. He talks about the now that rewards versus the if then rewards. If you do this, then you get that. That's performance pay. It needs to be done immediately. It's going to be a direct correlated reward to your actions and behaviors. Now that reward, I'm not telling you about. It's not going to be in any pay document. I'm not going to tease it out there as a carrot for you. You're just going to get it. Instead of me shooting up at your dopamine like your pay does every 2 weeks, it's going to shoot up your oxytocin. When it shoots up your oxytocin, that's the bonding chemical, the loyalty chemical, the chemical of long-term employees and higher productivity without being asked, and getting rid of the that's not my job and the quiet quitting, right? This is the chemical that gets rid of that stuff, that brings in loyalty, that feeling of commitment, that reciprocity we're looking to give our boss. And that's why and how we use that if then reward. It can also be a bucket measured off whether or not they did the thing that needed to be done. It's still performance based. If you're over on your time and materials, for example, or if you've cost too much in this area for that, then we can take it out of that bucket and give you the rest of the bucket. This all can be done behind the scenes because now what I ended up doing is talking about two things. I talked about the KPIs and how they're uncontrollable. And I talked about the compensation and how it's causing or removing friction from the business for people to perform at their peak. When we can get ordinary people to do extraordinary things, we've won. That comes from us, not them.
Tell me about KPI.
Oh, that's fake. Wayne, you're the best. It's like, I've read some of Ryan's stuff. You have, I'm sure. I can't imagine why anyone would, but there's some good stuff there, but man, it gets heady. KPIs, key performance indicators. The problem with KPIs is that most people think that every performance indicator is a key performance indicator when most KPIs are actually just PIs. What we have to recognize in most businesses, any business that I've ever been in, an actual KPI in any kind of selling organization is what I call CAP, high cap or low cap. A high cap customer is a customer that is going to convert on the first sit, right? It's going to be a higher average profit or average ticket, and it's going to be more profitable. And if we break that down, we can break that down into actual departments and everything else. The long and short of it is that KPIs are the key KPIs of choice. The reason why this matters is because when we get distracted with other nonsense, we're spending all of our time chasing numbers that mean almost nothing almost all of the time. I cannot begin to tell you how much nonsense people bring to me about what they measured this and measured that and did this, and we're making these assertions about what this actually means. 99% of the time, they have no clue what it means, and they are making clearly hugely massive mistakes and decisions based off of flawed assumptions, interpretations, and data. And by George, when you start doing that, you really start going down this doom loop of performance expectation that will never get you there.
As you were describing earlier, it almost sounds like two things are happening. One is how you're engaging your customer. The other one is engaging your workforce.
Yeah.
And it almost sounds like work culture, just making that come together. I get a sense that our egos are getting in our way a lot of times, whether you want to be the dominant person or you're feeling confident. Because if you're not feeling confident and you're nervous as all get out, you micromanage. How do you become cognizant of these blind spots? Sometimes you're doing it, right? And you don't realize it till 2 years later and you're in another place and someone goes, WTF, what's going on?
That's it.
How do you have that coming to Jesus moment?
Man, you guys, I love your questions. I don't usually get questions. This is deep and well thought through. Here's the thing. We live in a world of duality. We love to put misnomers on things and archetypes and all this stuff, but it really boils down to the universe as a whole is a universe of duality, and we live in a perceptual reality. We don't live in an objective reality. Objective reality is colorless, odorless, no light, no dark. It is pure emptiness in all of its ways. This is truth about physics of the universe, right? We can't deny the physics of the universe. They've been proven to what we know to the 10th to the 19th power and 10th to the 23rd power, depending on which version of physics you follow. Ultimately, when we don't recognize something, we make assumptions and we guess, like the five blind men describing an elephant. Have you guys heard about the five blind men guessing what an elephant looks like? One touches the ear and says, oh, it's a fan. The other touches the side of it and says, oh, it's a wall. The third touches the leg and says, it's more like a tree trunk. And the fourth touches the tail and says, no, it's more like a rope. And the other touches the trunk and says, no, it's more like a hose. And they all think that's what an elephant is, right? Because they can't see beyond the thing. What most people don't realize is that chaos is not the absence of order. It is the excess of order beyond our human comprehension, right? This is proven in the Mandelbrot set, which is where fractals come from. If you Google it and go onto YouTube and look at fractals, you'll see that there's a repetition in the pattern. The pattern is just overtly complex. And when we start to realize we're in an organized world, whether we like it or not, what we start to realize is if we just take the laws of nature and attach them to the challenges that we're facing, we're going to be able to figure out the ingredients. Once we have the A's, B's, and C's of our algebraic equation, we can change the equation to make it make sense. Blind spots happen when you get exposed to life and you start to believe certain things and don't allow yourself to do the thing.
Missed it.
It's
on Netflix.
It's on Netflix or Prime or something. Yeah, I think it's on Prime. One of the girls in that TV show, her superpower is that she can tap into all the people that are in her brain, right? The little inner child and the manager and the tyrant and the firefighter and all of the people in the brain are protecting her. She can turn that into an external superpower and then fight the fight that's going on. When you read the book No Bad Parts, which is a book my therapist had me read, it had me realizing, oh, geez, there is this whole committee in your head, and they have daddy issues as much as you do. That's where they come up. And the ego is the chairman of the board, right? And their job is to do one thing, the one thing that a committee can do. An external committee is just the same as an internal committee. And the internal committee is there to protect you, right? They can't do anything but be devil's advocate, led by this chairman of the board called the ego, all with the hopes of protecting the inner child, right? The inner child that is harboring all kinds of deep-rooted traumas and everything else that have us be the performers that we are in our own little ways. And what that means is that we have to have some sort of meeting with our committee and take control of that board meeting more often. We have to put a stop to the self-esteem diminishment, the weaponizing of fear, shame, and guilt within ourselves, the embracement of negative cortisol to help us pull up our bootstraps and do the thing. It's okay to internalize fear, shame, and guilt. It's not okay to have that weaponized against you, and it's not okay to weaponize it against yourself. Blind spots are living in this board meeting that you're having constantly, right? It's like real life. Right? Unless you're a solopreneur because you're sick and tired of all the meetings. But guess what? You're still having those meetings. They're just all happening in your head now. Right? So what do? We just start coming to terms with things and start facing the things that matter. If I'm going to give any really great advice about finding and working through blind spots today, all in hopes to build a better brand, a more productive brand, and to bring more people onto your business, to grow your business to the thing that you want it to be, or your life with your wife and son and next door neighbor and all of those things, to lean into what really matters in your intentions. In the military, they would call that commander's intent. It boils down to, how am I helping people win in a trustworthy and grateful manner? Those three things, after all of my research, are the three big buckets that everything falls into, no matter what you've posted on your wall as core values or beliefs. How you show up, how you act, and how you behave are all going to be articulated in those three buckets. Now, here's the rub. Here's the friction point. If you are willing to compromise on the thing that you've written down, when the circumstance is not to your favor, your core value is the thing that you're willing to stick beside, even when it hurts you, when you have to sacrifice, when you have to struggle, when you have to compromise, when you have to self-impose a consequence upon yourself as a business or individual. That is your real value in life. That is what other people value about you and your business. And that is what your core value is.
Wow. So, Wizard of Ads, how is that different from a marketing perspective? There's so many paths to go down here, right? Trying to capture everything. And I'm looking at our timer and I'm going, we're coming out of the home stretch time here.
Yeah.
It's a great philosophy. I love it, what you're talking about. From a business in the company, say, hi, help me get that reach. How do you take that philosophy and walk this through?
Yeah.
Which we all carry in some way, shape, or form, and help someone going, okay, here's your reach.
Yeah.
A quick message. Got a mug in hand? Good, because freshly brewed coaching is best served with your favorite roast. Join Wayne Pratt and Matt Hawksley as they spill the beans on how everyday pros, just like you, can use real coaching tools to level up their careers, teams, and mindset. It's bold, it's real, it's freshly brewed. Grab your free shot of clarity at freshlybrewedcoaching.com.
So most people like to talk about marketing as in, should I do Facebook ads, or what about radio, or should I do a billboard, or how should I wrap my truck? What should I call my company? Those are all pieces of marketing, right? But where most people miss the mark in marketing is one really big thing. Why should anyone give a crap?
When we started the podcast, someone says, listen, why is anyone going to want to listen?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would suspect that if anyone is still listening to Ryan ramble on about the philosophy and psychology and biology of business mindset, they're probably at a point where they're like, this resonates with me. And yeah, I have been saying all of the superficial nonsense that anyone could say, and you could literally just take my brand name and replace it with 1,000 other brands. And that's not going to move the needle. Buying a whole bunch of pay-per-click is not going to move the needle. The message is going to move the needle. The one big thing that you stand for in the vision, in the eyes, and the heart of your customers is going to be the thing that changes your game forever. Now, I'm not talking about the Amazons of the world and the FedExes where they're so big at this point that they can become more superficial because of sheer size. I'm talking about the solopreneur, the small entrepreneur, the little guy who is starting out and fighting a guerrilla war, not a formal army, not a formal warfare. And guerrilla warfare is winning the hearts of the people. When you win the heart of the people, the mind will follow. Did you know that in the brain, there's this bouncer named Broca? Broca is a little part of the brain that says anything boring, predictable, and uninteresting is going to get chucked down the left side of the brain in the dark alley of logic and measurement. Anyone who's interesting, new, and different is going to get into club imagination. Now you're in this cool club, you're peacocking, you're around, people are looking at you, they're liking you, you've got their attention. Now, how do you hold their interest? You got to do and say something. So whatever dance you're going to dance, it has to be something that keeps their attention and has you endearing yourself to them until such time as they need your thing. And their boyfriend that they're currently with is no longer of interest. That's the competitors that you're up against. And when you do make that connection, you get handheld and pulled back into the VIP room where decisions are made. That's the decision part of the brain. Remember, there's no room for words in the right side of the brain. That's all left side. We're justifying that. You know what the left side of the brain is? That's the gift shop on the way out of the VIP room. That's the gift shop where we just like, should we do this? Yeah, was your purchase? Yeah, let's get the t-shirt. We bought the t-shirt. It's the justification of what the heart has already made the decision to do. So if we can win the hearts, the mind will always follow. It has no choice. What we need to do is say something and do something that is going to capture the heart, and hold the heart's interest until such time as the decision is made to buy from you. And then it's up to the salesperson to close the deals and to deliver on the promise for them to come back for another date, for a fourth date, for a fifth date, for a marriage. And that's where you get loyal customers from. So how do we do this? It's about finding that thing. The nuts and bolts are highly custom to the individual company and what they're bringing to the table, what they currently have available to give in this relationship. What are they doing as the helper to show up and shine in a point of crisis? Everything that everyone has always bought has been to help tell the world, including the self, who I am. Identity is the only motivator that all motivators drive to. It is the king of motivators, the god of motivators. It is the linchpin motivator that all motivations, negative and positive, external and internal, drive to. Everything we do. So when I buy an air conditioner, I'm not doing it because, hey guys, come on back, look at my air conditioner. It's pretty sweet, huh? This puppy's got 18 sears in it, right? But what they're doing in their head is, I'm a wise buyer. I've made a good buying decision. I've provided for my family, and I've done it in the most efficient way possible with people that I trust that are going to stand behind it. And this thing that I want to be invisible in my house will remain invisible in my house for the longest period of time. This doesn't change if you're buying Lululemon pants, a car, or an air conditioner, but the different juices that we're squirting into our brains are changing to drive different motivators. With Lululemon pants, I just want my ass to look fabulous.
Wait around here for this point. I think you're looking fabulous without having to wear skin tight.
This is it. I'm not one to judge.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ryan. First, I get it. I'm lighting up like a Christmas tree. So get it. I call that thing you call broke a reticular filter. Same thing. The only thing I don't get is why isn't it Wizard of Corp or Wizard of Sales or Wizard of Self or why is it Wizard of Ads?
Back then and continuing to this day, the big ideas that we've talked about boil down into how we're approaching this problem. That's what makes us different as marketers. We're not looking at it as, how do we write an ad that sounds like an ad? I don't care how you buy Facebook. I know strategically the 3 different ways that you optimally buy Facebook. That is a tactic, nuts and bolts thing. Somebody who does that every day, go find the guy that's going to do that. Here's the strategy on what to do. That's what I'm going to bring within the Wizard of Ads group. I don't want to speak for all Wizard partners because they all have different strengths and weaknesses, and some of them are fantastic at copy and media buying and strategy, but some of them aren't strong in other areas, and I promise you do not want me writing your ad copy. I promise you. It'll be cheeky. You'll get noticed, but you'll probably get canceled. Third ad in, you're out, right?
Come with Lululemons, right?
At the end of the day, what I am looking at is, what is your superpower? What's that one big thing? Yeah, you do 10 really good things, but what's the one big thing that emotionally moves the person forward to say, I stand with this guy and this brand. This is the same thing as your wife standing with you. This is the one I will stand up and say I do with and live through sickness and health and good and bad and ups and downs. It's easier to disengage from a business when it has disenfranchised you. Ultimately, what we're trying to do here is find something that's not just cute and clever in your arsenal, but get something out into the universe that people can grab onto and pay attention to because you're saying something interesting. This is why marketing and sales is so different. Huge game changer for me. I thought it was all just sales and discounts and offers and call to actions and buy now crap. I've come to realize there's a way to do it more elegantly to protect your brand equity and integrity. But more importantly, it's about winning the hearts. And how do we do that? We win the heart of a drain company out in Pennsylvania a couple of years ago. They were making about $50,000 a month, and they called themselves East Coast Trenchless. Nobody had any clue what this business was about, so we rename it to Drain Magic. We then create a character called Billy Ray, and he has Billy Ray's hole digging. And Billy Ray, he's always got a diesel poured onto the back and it's just humming away. He has to talk a little loud because he's a little deaf, but he's talking about the Yelp reviews he's getting from the guys. And he's so proud about that 1-star review he got on Yelp about the lady who's just mortified that he had to dig up her azaleas and ruin her lawn, take down the tree and smash up her concrete. Then it shifts into, at Drain Magic, we actually do it with technology and an unevasive modern technology. And we can do it in a day and it's going to be easy and gone and life's good. If you want a second opinion, call us. They go from $50,000 a month to $800,000 a month within 9 months, right? We're talking about massive shifts in the heart of the community. We put that on a radio station where 400,000 people hear it every single day, once or twice a day. And now all of a sudden, we've just won the heart of the customer because we've told a story, right? We became the story of the thing that the customer wanted. People are story animals. If you're going to get the heart, get it through a story, continue the story. That was 1 ad of 12 that ran in a year. Every single month that's changing because they're hearing it so often. And it's like paying attention to Friends and tuning into the next episode of Seinfeld. It's just that interesting that you want to see what's going to happen next. What is Billy Ray from Billy Ray's Hole Digging going to do next? And that's how
Go with Billy Ray. I hate azaleas.
I think you should apply for a job at Billy Ray's Hole Digging, and you guys will have some fun times together.
Ryan, more seriously, is there a geography or an area of specialty? Is there an area that you focus on, and how do we reach you?
Yeah, I'm easily reached at ryanchute.com. All of my stuff kind of conduits out from there. You can see it there. My homes, I focus a lot on essential home services, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical companies, mainly because it's the most challenging to work with. My group deals with any purchase that's a long purchase cycle, higher average ticket type of purchases where relation is more valuable. Roofing is fine for us, but we're going to go really good with the roofing company that wants to establish a long-lasting relationship with the customer, not just a one and done kind of relationship. If you want one and done, do direct response. If you want relationship marketing, then you want to come to Wizard of Ads and build a base. Bases take time because trust takes time to build. You don't go on a date and all of a sudden get married. The same thing is true with business.
And some people have.
Well, absolutely. And those often are the ones that maybe don't have the same kind of longevity, right? Being married and being friends with somebody, it's not about the things that you find appealing about the person. It's the things that you're willing to put up with and tolerate within the relationship. The people who are dearest and closest in your life are the ones that know your flaws and still stick around. And that's a big deal because that's a vulnerable, safe spot. And that has an astounding power. Neuroception has us paying attention to our environment hundreds of times a second based off of the amygdala ensuring that we stay safe. 4 out of our 5 base emotions as children and in birth are negative to protect us. These are designed to, we're designed to be the people that we are. We're designed to be stress animals. And it's about managing that all of the time. Some do it better than others. And that's where we have the opportunity to succeed. The ones who didn't do well often have children that are very successful.
I want to say thank you to Ryan Chute, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and the Knack for Business listeners. If this has struck a chord with you and you're looking to have relationship marketing, long range, what Ryan just basically described already, reach out to him. It's perfect. You'll have a good conversation, one way or the other.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KRVIIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayne@motive8u.ca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter U.ca, or his website, motive8u.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people: Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert; Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host; Jovan Strika from At Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space; then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner; and Wayne Pratt from Motive 8U Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer: please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.